Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Spirit 360 Fellowship. Today we're going to talk about an old soul's guide to dealing with resentment and bitterness. And I don't know about you. From time to time, I have a little resentment. But more often, I run across people who seem to resent everything. And as someone who wants to allow myself to experience being spiritual, being a healer, being a psychic and a medium, and to be a minister to others, resentment is the surest, fastest way to take yourself out of the game, to have yourself not be present. The interesting thing about resentment is it's not like fear. It's not like anger. It's not like jealousy. All of those things can happen underneath. And that may be the cause of your resentment. But in this talk today, we're going to look at how the true source of resentment can be resolved. So you can have an experience of being alive, happy, and create a thriving life as you move. Welcome to Spirit 360 Fellowship. I'm T.S. Hall, theStoicMedium, and I'll be leading your service today. At Spirit 360 Fellowship, we show you simple tools and processes that allow you to discover the three things most important to you: who you are, why you're here, and where you're going. The answers to those questions allow you to create the life you want, accomplish what you incarnated to do this lifetime, and to be happy. As I've dealt with my own resentment in life, I realized it's more about instinctual survival than it is anything else. Something happens in life we don't like. We're upset. We get a little bit jealous. We get a little bit angry. Something just doesn't go our way. And our psyche, our psychology, our brains are wired to protect us from things we don't like. We want to avoid burning ourselves on a fire. We want to avoid encountering anything that feels dangerous. We want to avoid anything that can jeopardize our well-being. As we were small children, it was very important that we learn how to survive. Some of us had an easier job than others. As I started to unpack all of these ideas and feelings about resentment, it all was my sister's fault. She was the very first person I was resentful of. She was outgoing and extroverted. She made friends anywhere and everywhere. And I am more of an introvert. I'm more quiet. So I'm more at home alone than I am in a crowd. And she was more at home in a crowd. And when you're a small child going to birthday parties and stuff like that, it seems like people favor the happy little noisy girl and not the quiet, shy little fat boy. As I allowed myself to experience these types of feelings of resentment and bitterness, what I realized as an adult as I began my spiritual practices is they do only one thing, and that's distract me from what I'm doing right now. The key to being able to allow yourself to let go of resentment, let go of bitterness, is too simple, and most people don't like it. You have to awaken your intuition. You have to awaken your knowing. You have to awaken your ability to experience those things spiritual. Only by opening the spiritual eyes of your soul will you allow yourself to let go of these instinctual patterns, these stories from your life that you don't like, that you resent, that you become highly frustrated. In that moment of opening your intuition, you can see that other people are just doing what they do. And you can allow yourself to become okay with what you do. I did a quick poll in a group I'm in, and I said, what's the main way you deal with resentment? And one person says, well, you got to forgive. You got to forgive yourself and you got to forgive others. And I thought that was very good approach. However, most people think that you have to forgive and forget. And in cases where you may have been wronged or some type of injustice happened, you don't want to forget. You want to forgive. You want to allow yourself to grant the other person being, allow them to be them, and know that they did what they could at the time, whether it was deliberate and intentional or whether it was accidental. So forgive them. The best way to forgive is to write in your journal. Just get it all out. Dump it out, dump it out, dump it out, dump it out. It's kind of like taking out the trash. Sometimes we are upset with ourselves because we didn't handle a situation the way we thought we should. Someone says something and is a jerk, or you go into a circumstance and it doesn't turn out the way you want to, and then we become angry with ourselves because we didn't do what we know we should have done. So we start to resent our own selves for a lack of action. Again, forgive yourself, but don't forget. Because that forgiveness gives you freedom to breathe. But if you forget what you learned, then all the pain and suffering you went through with the circumstance will be lost. And you paid dearly for that. You paid for it with your happiness, with your aliveness, with your vitality, with all the emotional angst you went through trying to sort it all out. Learn those lessons. Don't forget them. The next thing that was mentioned in this quick research poll I did was really to just accept that you have to accept what you can't change. And can you change anything that happened yesterday? The day before? 10 years ago? 3 lifetimes ago? Not lifetimes. Lifetimes. Many times we are resentful for things other people did, not being responsible for who we were in the circumstance. So you have to accept your responsibility for who you are and how you may have contributed to the circumstance. And you also have to accept the other person did what they could do at the time. And once you allow yourself to accept those things you can't change, and if it's not right now, you can't change it, you start to open a gap where you can breathe. The moment you open that gap so you can breathe, an interesting thing happens. Light comes in. And you start to see things in a new light, from a new perspective, and you can allow yourself to be okay with what happened. The next one, a little bit more elaborate, a little bit more complicated, but they basically said they had a process they went through in this research poll I did, and the process was simply this. They looked at why they got upset. They looked at why they were unwilling to let go of the upset, and they went through a process of basically affirmations and writing in their journal, and it kind of included the acceptance and kind of included the forgiveness. But they had this whole process they went through and allowed themselves to disconnect from any type of resentment or bitterness. Now, my particular favorite part of expression of resentment is saltiness. Anyone know someone who's a little salty, a little briny, a little bit maybe off color in their language, besides me? If you look at someone who's really salty, many times they don't like themselves. They have a real big issue with who they are, how they show up in the world, and what they feel like they can accomplish. In my own personal development, and in the last few stages of my allowing myself to be okay, being on video, and allowing myself to help other people, what I realized is most of my saltiness was simply a lack of awareness of having a habit of just not being happy. Now, that sounds pretty funny, a habit of not allowing myself to be happy. And when you look at your life, you may find there are habits you've had your whole life that no longer serve you. So me not being happy required that I allowed myself to be happy the way I'd be happy. Remember, I told you my original resentment was for my sister. That she was always the outgoing person. She sang in the choir. She always had friends. She would be okay playing with her friends and not get punished for doing silly stuff, and I would get punished. It was the moment I realized I didn't have to be happy the way she was happy to make myself successful in life that the rose opened, and I was able to start to see that really at the source of my frustration is I was not happy with who I was. And I felt I had to be someone else to be successful in the world. So this self-awareness, this self-examination, this self-acceptance allowed me just to say, I'm me. Some people will like me. Some people won't like me. I bless them all because that's what I like. What makes me happy is being with friends, quiet crowds, not throngs, having a nice meal, having an intellectual discussion, an occasional adult beverage of my choice, and connecting with people on a deep level. And when I can do that, I'm happy. That's a relationship I have with my wife, and she gave me the freedom to do that. And that's a relationship I have with my few close friends. In wrapping up, I want to share with you the magical thing. And by magical, I mean it works every time if you do the work. Meditation is the first step to allowing yourself a journey to self-acceptance, self-awareness, and self-understanding. The only way you can truly decipher all of the habits that no longer serve you is to get control of your mind. The brilliant thing about stillness meditation, which we teach and we practice, is the first result you get, usually within the first 6 or 8 weeks, is your emotions get calm. And I don't know about you, if you've ever experienced resentment, it's quite emotional. It's tiring. It wears you out. It keeps you from sleeping. It makes you salty. It makes you not happy. Meditation twice a day, stillness, 5 minutes of concentration followed by 5 minutes of no thinking, allows you to diffuse and calm your emotions. And just like if you have a calm body of water, it's more easy to swim in, it's more easy to travel by boat, it's more easy to get to where you want to go. If you truly want to release your resentment, calming your emotions is the first step, because then you can see exactly where you're resentful and pick and choose which method of letting go of that resentment, dealing with that resentment, will work for you. The best analogy I ever heard about resentment is when you resent someone else, it's you holding on to something that's like poison, but it only poisons you, not the other person. Most times the other person is clueless that you're upset. And maybe that's what you resent, the fact you're so upset and they're not aware of